okay if I sit next?
Okay, everyone turn on your microphones. Turn on your microphones, please, starting the meeting. Thank you, Bob, for getting us started.
Is Judith coming?
Pardon?
Is Judith coming?
Well, she was on the, I'm under the email. I guess not. Which is unfortunate because I had a question for him. Okay. All right, meeting is called to order and roll call. Wanna go?
I may have to rely on you a little bit for hearing.
Huh?
I will
Were you
try my
speaking?
best. I need a
Roll
little
call.
of that too.
Called it. You here?
Present.
Okay, I'm here. Pat, here. Yeah.
And here too.
Sorry. Yeah.
Chet's here.
We're missing Steve, who was at the AGU meeting in Washington. And hope you had some good session. And we do not have a representative from the council. Okay. We'll go ahead.
Usually the camera, the video screen shows a picture of us as if the people on Zoom can see us.
Right, I wonder whether, is it recording?
It said recording in progress, but we don't get any reassurance that this is working.
Okay, so we may or may not be recording. I will check after the meeting and see what's going on. Because they had trouble, we've had trouble with several meetings. I think it's probably the router. Okay, is there anyone, I don't know that anyone can join the Zoom here, but any public comment? I don't see anyone, we don't hear anyone, right? Okay, so we will have to skip that. Approval of minutes. These are from the October meeting. Pat took really good minutes. And are there any suggestions, corrections?
No.
See, are on the back of the first page. Anyone look at them? You need a minute to look at them. Does anyone need time to look at the minutes? Yes?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Bob, you've looked at them, right? Yes, you have. Okay. Gary, Chet,
No, that looks fine to me.
okay. Troy? Chet, you okay with the?
I move that we accept the I move that we accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay,
Oh,
all in favor of
yes, yes.
accepting the minutes from the October meeting? Okay. Approved. Thank you, Pat. Okay, first order of business is this first tip we'd like to put out from the Geologic Safety Committee. And the copy of that is on pages 3 and 4. Sides 3 and 4 of the handout I gave you. And Pat has, I think, borrowed, well, Pat, do you want to take this?
Hold on, I'm just trying to get the Zoom to.
Have to talk into the microphone?
So you want me, so I'm on Zoom, I got in on Zoom, did you say you're ready for you?
Pardon?
Oh, yeah,
I'm on Zoom.
yeah,
You're
you
on
are.
Zoom. Okay.
So I was just gonna, let me just see if anyone was joined.
Is there anyone else on Zoom?
Those two people
I haven't signed in yet.
are just historic. students. Okay, all right,
Okay.
so, you wanted me to cover,
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, the video started. The video's now working.
Oh, there we are. Thank you, Pat. Magic touch. Okay.
so you wanted me to do, what is it?
Into the microphone.
Right.
You have to
let
speak
me-
into the
a
microphone.
little bit, tell me
Okay.
what you want me to do.
Yeah, just to lead people through, to explain what you've done, lead people through this, explain the idea
Oh,
behind
okay.
it.
Okay, I thought I did that last time, but I'll do it again.
Well, sort of, yes.
So, to start off with, these are borrowed very heavily from the USGS website, so if we use them, we need to make sure we cite the source. So they have a lot of information for residents and everyone else on how to address earthquake hazards and earthquake risk. Mainly earthquake risk, I guess, since we're living in it. So the first section is what to do before an earthquake, just to be prepared. So those are all pretty straightforward with active links for more information, and then a description of what emergency supplies are useful to have ahead of time. I always have water in the garage, but I don't refresh it enough. So I guess that's one thing people should refresh their gallons of water at least once a year. And then during an earthquake, they recommend staying inside and getting into a reinforced position, either under heavy furniture or to a door. I think I found a picture. Okay. Yeah. And their advice not to go outside is basically because they don't want you to fall down. But the other issue, like when earthquake happens at night, like our bed's right below a window, which could likely break, which is kind of stupid, but that's what it is. You should have shoes by your bed so you don't cut your feet. That's one of the main injuries that gets treated after an earthquake is people walking across broken glass. Yeah, so they worry about gas lines getting damaged. For us during Loma Prieta, I had Steve cooking in the oven with gas, so we just left it. Yeah, and it just warns against heavy objects toppling over like bookcases and stuff. We've had some pictures coming off the walls. Let's see. And then after an earthquake, again, it says to wear sturdy shoes and expect aftershocks.
Yeah.
So everyone will try and get on the phone and contact people, and the cell towers typically get overloaded, and so that's another issue you need to figure out how to manage. We at our house have one of those radios that you crank.
Yeah.
And so, and a light the same way, so that's.
Did that give you communication with the outside world?
No, you can just listen, yeah,
AM and FM.
that's,
Okay.
I bought it 20 years ago, so I'm sure they have something that maybe you can tune into. Well, I don't know, anyway.
Yeah.
And that's it for this sheet. So we're reviewing this and everyone adding input before we propose to the town that we post it online for the. There's a lot more.
Is there, thank you. I'm sorry if
Oh,
I interrupted.
I mean, there's a lot more that can be added. This is just practical stuff for residents, but you know, as we talked about before, the county has websites with lots of information. State Geological Survey does it as well. And this doesn't mention like the USGS, did you feel it, or any of their information, kind of real-time information on what the earthquake look like. They do aftershock forecasting as well. I don't know if anyone went to their website after the Victoria earthquake recently, but you can kind of get a sense of what they're up to.
You want to pass it down?
So this is like a day's worth, or 2 days. This is like a week's worth.
Pardon? That was the,
Right, but how many days does that? How many?
that was last meeting. It's only 300.
But not just in one month, since the
No.
shock.
This is.
Oh, okay,
Not cumulative, just one day.
okay, got it. And what's the magnitude threshold? But down to magnitude 1 or 2 or something? Yeah, I'm just asking what this means. So these are magnitude like 2 and above? Or what? Okay.
Wow. Right on the. Correct. Open air as you can tell from that.
So Pat, I want to thank you, commend you for what you prepared. I've looked at it. I think it's wonderful. I've made some small changes I'm going to pass out in a minute. The changes are mostly just a change in format. I've tried to minimize any like changes in the words. I think that as it is, it's great. So despite the fact that I have some small changes, I want the basic message to be, I think that you've done a great job. I would like to just see if having a change in format would be better. What is the change in format? I've turned it into individual lines with bullet points, making it more like a list instead of a paragraph. And it's just a format change.
Did
So
you say you have copies to hand out?
there you go. You could, I'll pass this down and whatever, make a copy for everybody.
Okay, it makes it longer? Does it?
Not much.
Little? Not much. Not much. Before we get into the detail here, the only thing I would say, I would add my thanks to Bob's. Pat, you've done a great job here. And you mentioned the county, and we have the fire district, and there are some other websites that we probably should put in here just to point people to the other websites that have exhaustive lists. The idea here is that less is more. If you're faced with a list of 50 things you have to do before an earthquake, you're not going to do them. But if you've got, 4 or 5 really important ones, maybe you can get them done. And that's the point here. And the other thing is that I'd like to tie this into this 7.0 earthquake offshore off Mendocino, on the Triple Junction, and bring it back to possibility here. It's a very great possibility of a very similar earthquake with hundreds of aftershocks here. It'll be like worse than 1989.
Probably.
Well, I mean, they had so many, if you look at the aftershocks from Loma Prieta, they covered with little circles, the whole area down there. But that's what it would be like here. Anyway, okay, so Bob's, let's get into Bob's. So Bob, okay, so did you take, looking at Bob's list?
These are Pat's words, just reformatted. It's really the way to look at this. It's just a change from paragraphs to a list with the same words.
So it's the same, basically.
Yeah.
I see.
I have made 3 minor changes, whether they are agreeable to the committee or not is not a big deal to me. The three changes are, I put in big bold letters at the top, earthquake preparedness recommendations, like the title. If somebody wants a different title, let's talk, it's fine. More of a, these are suggestions. Under step 2, in the section on preparing an earthquake, step 2, I added, I changed it a little bit. There's part A is as was written in the original version, and then I added part B, which really just asked the question of, you know, how are people going to plan to leave if they need to leave town after an earthquake?
No one thinks about that. We're just going to take Alpine Road or Portola Road, right?
Well, yeah. Only other thing which I consider minor and whatever pushback is fine. In the very first sentence of the first paragraph, it says public agencies have prepared several fact sheets for Portola Valley residents. To me, it's more, what they've done is things just for residents. And they really haven't done anything for us other than what they've done for everybody. So I'm wondering, well, my first reaction was just to take the word Portola Valley out just because that makes it more accurate. Is that really important? No. Maybe we just change the sentence a little bit to be able to put the word Portola Valley and make saying that it's important for Portola Valley residents, something. But that is the extent of all of my changes. And so thank you for listening.
You could reorder that sentence. I agree with you. It makes it look like they just did it for us. But you could say prepared several fact sheets, like about earthquakes relevant to Portola Valley residents, something
That's,
like that.
yeah. It work for you? Okay, it's good. And then we would list the links for those in the county and state and the county and, I don't know,
Yeah.
we have FEMA, we have federal, we have the county, we have the state, we have the county, we have the fire district. And they all have similar lists, but they're all different in some details, and they're all very, very, very long.
Pat, should I make a small recommendation? This is my only change, really. Just change the first sentence to remove the word Portola Valley, and then after that, just add a statement that says that these recommendations are important for the residents of Portola Valley.
I think
something
Pat
like
had
that.
a sentence actually that,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, but
I think
that's,
she done it. You
are we
have
doing
one?
the same thing or?
You want to read your?
Yeah,
sentence?
mine just, so public agencies have prepared several fact sheets about earthquakes relevant to Portola Valley residents.
Relevant to Portola Valley residents.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I think the bulleting of the specific supplies, for instance, is probably useful because then you can use this as a checklist as you go through as you accumulate your supplies. I think I added, okay, it said stay clear of windows, fireplaces, heavy furniture. I think I added the doorways. Because a doorway with a door, it's dangerous. The door can swing closed on your fingers and people get severed fingers. I have a friend who lost the tip of his middle finger. He was just standing in the door and the wind swung the screen door shut on his finger. Cut off the
Damn it.
finger. The dog came bounding around and tried to eat the finger. Anyway, got reattached and he played the piano after that. So he was okay.
Whoa.
But
The
it was
dog played the piano.
the dog. No. Gary. Yeah, the dog.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Ah,
Somebody's, somebody's,
It's good. I muted.
I
Okay, I
completely
had to
off.
mute on the screen.
Uh,
Oh,
people need to, if you have a computer, you need to turn the microphone off and the speaker off. You gotta do both.
where's my
I
speaker?
just gave up and quit Zoom. But it was fine. So I'm not
Sorry
sure what's
about
the issue.
Okay. No, we're not okay.
Can you turn off the speaker?
Okay, I have it on X, so.
That's good. I think
No,
we're,
Portola Valley Net, and then yeah, so, yeah, and then I click
Okay.
that and then click something.
I think we're okay.
I think we're okay now.
All right.
We had a glitch, but that's just the way it goes.
Little excitement. Sorry about that. Okay. So Pat, are you clear? What do you think about, adding a link, not maybe just an introduction to the worksheet? I mean, this should stand alone regardless of any earthquakes we've had. But, we need to write something for the, hi, Judith, thank you. Need to write something for the town newsletter. I'd like to get this in the town newsletter. I'd like to get this in the Geologic Safety Committee website page. I'll link to this so that this is permanently part of the committee output. And I'd like to put this on PV Forum. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Okay, you probably hadn't had time to look at this, but we wanted to put out a fact sheet for earthquake preparedness and keep it fairly simple because most of the lists you see are daunting. And you don't even dare start. Okay. So Judith, from your point of view, is this a doable list? I mean, when you look at the list, does it look doable as opposed to daunting?
We're on Zoom, but nobody seems to be there.
It's the same text,
It's,
but
it's
we're
the
looking at,
the content is the same, it's just the format is different.
yeah, we're looking at the one with the bullet point. The one that Bob, yeah, the one with the bullet. A little harder to read, but we can get those, like, places where we want to come. So were you gonna do both? No, we'll do just one. So we're just getting opinions right now. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, Gary, how about you? Mike, you turn on your microphone and speak into it, please.
Okay, the main thing is to keep it succinct. Because people really need to know what to do right now without a lot of detail. So the main thing is that there be, I think things are pretty well organized. Where I don't have any suggested changes. I think the difficulty is groups can't do wordsmithing very well together because they have, if you have 5 people on the committee, you have about 10 different ideas. So, but the main thing is keep it simple, keep it straightforward. And that's important.
So which version would you go with?
Well,
Bullets or non-bullets, it doesn't matter to you.
I'm easy, either way with either version, either man, or the one that you send out.
I'm sorry, I can't.
He's happy with either.
Either one, thank you, okay. Troy, how about you? Speak into the microphone?
I'm quite satisfied.
Microphone, you have to,
I'm quite satisfied with what I see.
okay. Pat, how about you?
I read Bob's rendition of the report with the bullets points, and I like his arrangement. I noted that in the discussion of what to do around the house, there was mention of making sure that tall objects are secured. And I just think that the word firmly should be added. It is really important because bookcases and grandfather clocks and things are very vulnerable. And they must be very firmly secured to the walls where they are located. It's a very important point. I've made certain that we did that in our house, and I think everybody should pay a lot of attention to that sort of thing. How firmly are things anchored? They must be very firmly anchored because there's going to be a lot of forces trying to move them. So you just don't put a simple little something or other between the wall and the object. You have to make sure that you've got something that is really strong and secure.
That's a really good point. Some of the earthquake kits that they sell in the hardware stores are basically stick on or just, just screw into the sheetrock of the wall, and that's not enough. Okay. Pat, did you get that for step 1?
I think,
So,
I think that to change, just to finish this topic, I think the actual place to put the change is under the section of what can I expect my house when an earthquake occurs, under, identify, and then it's bullet point number 3, are TV and stereos fastened down? I guess just want to add the word firmly fastened down.
So where's the?
This would be under the section,
Under my house.
Where are you?
under during,
Okay, here, I
on
found
page
it. Yeah.
2, during an earthquake, the last section of identify our TV and stereo firmly fastened down.
Mhm.
Firmly fastened. And the other place is in step 1 on the first page.
Mhm.
As an anecdotal note, I will say that in the 1989, yeah, the Loma Prieta earthquake at Stanford, Amos Noor, the chairman of geophysics, was sitting in his office, and behind him was a large bookcase. and it tipped over on him. He was under the bed. The journals in the bookcase, both into the Seismological Society of America.
Was
Yeah,
that-
Norm Sleep, he was out, not in his office, but his workplace.
Okay, so,
So a question,
question?
so it's recommending each family member have at least 2 weeks of water, a gallon per person. Does anyone have that much water? So we have two of.
I have
That's a lot of
capacity.
gallons.
I have
Not yet.
capacity for it, but I haven't filled them.
14 times,
Yeah.
2 times. That's a lot of gallons. I don't know that anyone does,
Yeah.
but I always heard you could use water from your water heater. if you need it. It's a thing.
What butter from her?
Water
Water
heater,
heater.
Yeah. If you have,
if you have one, yeah.
yeah,
Well, pretty much everybody has a
And
water.
some people do it in line.
They do?
No, we don't. We've got
bad.
the old fashioned.
yeah, so do you have 2 weeks worth of water? I know you keep water.
No, but, so we all seem to be equally whatever on this topic, not doing what the recommendation is. There's one thing that I will maybe talk about after the meeting, because I don't want to say too much that makes this meeting too long. But I've done a lot of research on this. I just haven't acted. And my research is to what containers are available for this. And there are, after World War II, there were call them jerry cans that were 5 gallons and whatever. And now the military has the equivalent that are made out of durable plastic. And there are 2 brands available. They're relatively expensive, but they will last a war. And I have all of the information on the different brands and how much they cost and where you get them. And if anybody wants that, I'll share it with you.
Yeah, that's
Afterwards.
interesting. Yeah, just as an aside, my son lives in Sweden. He's required to have 2 weeks of water, 2 weeks of food stored at all times.
The requirement.
Well, they're kind of close to Russia.
My thought is that we can follow up on this with future tips, and that might be one of them.
Yeah, make it a living document. So.
Yeah, this is our first salvo. And then we can certainly talk about details and suggestions after this. But I think we should keep going with this.
Yeah, so I would say at the end, you can say for further information, here are some sources, and that's where we would put fire district link, county link, state resources, all that stuff. And even like the did you feel it link? Because people are going to want to see more information about what happened as long as they've got, their safety secured, right?
Yeah. Okay, so links here, links at the end you want instead of. the
If you
beginning.
want to, yeah, if we want to add some more information, with some links, I would put it there, so it doesn't detract from the main point of the guidelines. Right?
Yeah.
I would like to propose a long-term goal, which is, and this, I'm going to say something first that's very contradictory. One, I fully support having a short, simple list like this one. That no matter what else we do, this must always be first and foremost. But I look at this and I go, wow, I'm kind of tempted to be able to, like, wouldn't it be nice to, in some format somewhere, say more? But I believe that the answer is to, one, keep a very short list like we have always. And if we do something more, you put it in something else or after this. And I want to use the word handbook. It would be great to have a handbook, but having a handbook means that probably most people aren't going to read it. A few people will. Writing a handbook is a huge challenge. I do not have the bandwidth to take it on. I am willing to on occasion, write a chapter here and a chapter there. Looking back, this committee in this town has existed for over 40 years. If we had started a handbook 40 years ago, we'd probably have a really crackerjack document by now. If it was even added just once a year, a little paragraph here and a little paragraph there, after 40 years, it would add up. So it's possible to come up with something good long-term. Short-term, I can't do it. But I just wonder if we could just, what's your thoughts on having a handbook? Thank you.
What-
That you talk about
Wait, a-
really go over time. Oh, yeah. A handbook. It sounds a little anecdotal. On the other hand, the USGS is in business to do the sort of things that we would like to have them done. I'm guessing they have such a handbook, but I do not know.
Yeah.
But they're the agency that has the imprimatur to do it and say, this is what we do. And it's out of our hands. We should
Yeah,
talk
we don't
about-
need to
talk
reinvent
about
that.
laws that are at least controversial, and
And-
there could be alternative opinions about them.
They have sociologists now too that look at how to phrase things so people pay attention.
So Pat and Gary, thank you for bringing that up because I support 100% what you say. Things that I think could be helpful would be the stuff that is important just for Portola Valley. For example, we've written,
Idiosyncratic to our situation.
well,
Yeah.
as one example, we now have the map that was prepared for evacuation after an earthquake. I would like to see a better text that goes with the map. I mean, if somebody just looked at the map by itself, some people might go, wow, it looks interesting, but what does it mean to me? And we don't really explain that. So that's the kind of something that is way too much to put in a simple little thing that we're looking at right now, but it's something that's, man, most people, if we write something more, most people won't read it, but some people will, and it will help those.
well,
Most people will not read the heavy duty thing. That's why we have executive summaries for most things. But the fact of the matter is, people who need it really need it. It's like buying a car. You get a really good owner's book. Who the Sam Hill gonna waste the time to read it? When if you wanna know how to turn on the air conditioning and the navigation, and that comes in a little pamphlet. So you have both though, for the Bobs of this world are gonna dig deeply. So we do need those things, and it's idiosyncratic for our area. We have special impingement of several different types of natural hazards that not everybody has. That they're perhaps good working, but I think
Mm.
we have a much bigger upside to living here.
I really thank you for the recommendation to not
We're
reinvent the
doing-
wheel. We've got some great people that are paid good salaries that are supposed to figure this out, and it seems like they're doing a pretty good job of it. We don't need to.
I think they probably have
Yeah,
a thing.
yeah. So
okay.
one thing to consider for the what to expect in my house is be prepared for a loss of power for several
Yeah.
days.
Mm.
So there's mention of, have water supplies, have food supplies, have flashlights, but people may be heating and lights.
Maybe just putting that statement in there.
Yeah,
Be be prepared.
Expect a loss of power.
yeah,
Water and electricity.
Yeah. yeah.
Live without water.
Just go, well, where would you put it? It's not a step, it's before the earthquake, for sure. You have to be prepared for this.
Yeah, but it's what can I expect in my home? You can expect that you lose. But I guess before that, you would say, what surprised you?
Oh, yeah, what can I expect
Oh,
in
here
my
it is.
house when
Yeah,
an
there it
earthquake
is. Okay.
occurs?
Yeah, so loss of power. A little more
I just remember years ago now, maybe early nineties, we lost power for several days and our house got incredibly cold. Well, we were all huddled around a fireplace.
Okay, how about loss of power, loss of water, loss of
Gas,
telephone and cell phone communication?
natural gas will
Loss of
probably
gas?
be turned off if
Yeah,
the
loss of
things are
gas.
really messed up. Hard to imagine if we're gonna keep the natural gas going if the pipelines are all cracked.
Yeah, if they've got a significant leaks in it.
Yeah, so these are things that will affect Portola Valley much more, for a longer duration and much more seriously than people probably in Melmont Park or Palo.
Not at the top of the list.
Not exactly, yeah.
And we're low density housing no matter what compared to the city.
Yeah.
So the first, aid has to go to those that are hotbeds.
Yeah.
Yes, the natural disadvantages there.
All right. Anything else anyone can think of to add or change here?
I really think this is what we got here is, I think it's really good.
I do too. Yeah. Absolutely. If we can get this out, I think it will be helpful, especially as we just had this large earthquake. Judith, did you see the the picture I sent around? Is it with chat, maybe? Okay. Want you to see the picture of the earthquake, the 7.0 earthquake where for which they issued the tsunami warning was offshore off the Mendocino coast. And I have a picture, screenshot I took last night from the USGS site that shows all the aftershocks. And this
See,
is
well, it doesn't matter.
it's the same kind of earthquake, about the same magnitude we would expect here on the San Andreas. I want you to see the aftershocks. Each one of those is an after,
Just offshore.
each one of those it's a magnitude 2.5 or larger I took.
Strike slip, yeah, where the San Andreas goes out to sea.
The big escarpment, submarine escarpment of the Mendocino escarpment, and that is the transform fault connecting two segments. Spreading.
Show at the bottom.
Isn't it in the bottom? Didn't I capture it? I hope. Bottom left, is it?
So I think I think the epicenter was roughly 35 miles offshore.
So that's what we're talking about here. Yeah. So Judith, when Pat casually mentions, and there will be aftershocks, this is what'll happen. Wait, that type of, wait, can you, I'd like to.
Yeah, no, sharing that type of information or a link to it could be interesting for people in town who want to understand. So I don't know if that's available via a link or some easy to look at, but that raises the bigger question of, do you have a web page that you're constantly updating? I don't think you do at this point, right?
We would like to have one.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, 'cause that's a good goal to have. Okay, so that'll be part of what we need to look at, but that's pretty cool information. You might even wanna, I don't know, you could share it on PV Forum, like, I don't know what you feel strongly about doing. It's up to you.
Well,
But
I would like to get for sure, the list, whatever you want to call it, the tip on the town newsletter, get it into
yeah,
our committee page and put it on the forum.
Yeah.
And once it's on the forum, we could add a picture and
yeah,
little information on the earthquake.
yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, pictures hit home in a way words don't.
Yeah,
So that's very helpful. Thank you.
yeah. So, yeah, that was through last night. There were well over 200 aftershocks that were, some of which were damaging, some of which would have been damaging had they been here, some of which would not. But it would have been constant shaking for weeks, months.
So the Earthquake Science Center prepares talking points for earthquakes like this. So that would be an easier way to get information than just do it from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole group behind the scenes that I'm a part of that you're on call for a week at a time, and then you prepare talking points that are, there's like a recipe, a generic recipe that makes it easier to fill in the blanks. And then anyone that goes in front of the press, that's what their statements are based on.
So I read the one for the recent earthquake and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
It really, I sort of had it because I looked at things like the tensor solution. I thought I understood it. And then I read what the executive summary said and it sharpened my knowledge. I was glad that it was there. Yeah.
Certainly an eye catcher. My guess is that those are first locations of the epicenter. And that further, some of them are gonna move closer to the sharpening. Because in aggregate, it certainly defines that there's a lot of scatter.
Yeah.
I suspect that it's somewhat reduced.
Yeah, and if you
Maybe
look,
make it even better.
so when I first looked at the main event on the webpage, it had its depth at 0. So they haven't resolved the depth at that point. He just gives you a hint that they're still processing information. But the other odd thing, an odd thing was there was a 5.8 at Geysers. Almost very close in time to this one. So my USGS emails say, here's the channel for Petrolia event, here's the channel for the Geyser event, and you can put data streams separate.
I'd like to take just a minute.
Yeah.
What, kilometers anyway? So they're possibly related, but maybe that's stretch.
Yeah.
Well, we have these things that are even worse, in Chile and in Japan or things like that. Wait a minute here.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the present here. Do we have any other suggestions for Pat? I think what she'll make a final copy and we'll get it out to the town and the PV forum. With at least on PV forum with something about the earthquake. And the relevance to us.
Was there a process when we have our final version that we have to send it in?
For the town?
Like,
Wait, for the town?
for us to post it on the town.
No,
website.
we send it to the town and send it to someone who's in charge of
Okay. got it.
the town
And then they take it.
newsletter,
Take it
and then
from
that'll be added to the newsletter. Yeah. Figure it out. Okay.
An image or two added to the tips, as you call it, the program of what to do before and during and after. An image or two like this one with Mendocino would be very interesting to have in it because everybody knows that's happened just very recently. And it looks major. It would be nice to also build, just something where a bridge is out or a house fell down or building, but preferably a school or church. No, because all these things, will people will say, oh, next. That's what you want them. You want them to not just, okay, here's a lot of instructions for it. Yeah, whoa, look what happened. And, because it could happen in Elm City.
Yeah,
If
Okay.
it happened up there, it could happen here.
okay. So we need to
I'm
find,
just suggesting that there must be a lot of stuff. The survey must have, hundreds of images of things that are relevant in terms of earthquake damage. All we want is something semi-spectacular that people say, yeah, well, yeah, let's take a trip to Kansas.
well, there are reams and reams of material on this at all different levels. But the idea was just to,
Yeah, no, I understand,
Condense
but I'm just saying one or two images, just big,
yeah,
the people basically, yeah, you can read this or not, but if not, well, we told you,
yeah.
you know.
So do we know where the emergency shelters are in town? Here? Judith, do you know? Maybe the fire department, I don't know.
No, they didn't want to show him up
Oh,
there.
Maybe. Yeah, well, when you want to be out in the open. I mean, if you think your house is falling down around you, you want to get out in the open while the shaking is going on, but then you're going to want shelter pretty soon after that. So where do you go?
Except we're telling people not to run outside.
Yeah, probably the houses are not not going to fall down on you. Your bookcase that you haven't secured to the wall will, but
Well, the obvious emergency shelters would be the MURs of the two schools. I don't know if they are or not. They've all got solar panels on top, so they're gonna have power.
have what?
Yeah, we should coordinate. The Emergency Preparedness Committee. We should coordinate with them.
Yeah, I'm working with Dale Fowl, but on evacuation, but we're sort of working in tandem on that. But in general, no, I mean, there's an interesting point here. They have been doing earthquake preparedness forever, and we're beginning to cross over from, from mapping faults to preparation. So you think we should, before we go public with this, just let them know what we're doing? We'll just do it. We'll just do it.
I think, no, I think publishing this little list that we've got I think it's ready to go.
Just do it. Oh, the shelters. Oh, specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As what to do after an earthquake, if your home is not safe, then
yeah.
go to an emergency shelter. The town center would work too. It's got a big auditorium and solar theme.
Yeah, we should know. This is something we should know. Okay, need to find out. Okay. Wow.
But
Covered one
to
eye.
Gary's point, so the USGS has prepared scenario shake maps for earthquakes. So I'm sure they have one for magnitude 7 on the peninsula segment. So that's a possibility. They'll pretty colors. And there must be some vintage photos of some damage during the local earthquake. People could
Okay,
grab
so,
one that's.
so this is getting more complicated. So are you thinking for the newsletter for the town, for PV Forum, for, this could be a chapter in Bob's handbook, you know?
No, we're talking about scenario map and one picture of infrastructure.
One picture?
I think you're both right. I mean, it's, yes, what you're saying is simple, but then it is more information. Where do you put it? I think a, I'd like to spend just maybe 1 minute about the handbook. I think I like all the feedback I've gotten. I think that it's the kind of a place where we could compile these tips that you want us to produce.
That's on our webpage on the,
Yeah, well, but
in the town, yeah. Yes, there's,
I think essentially having a, like a PDF file that's a digital equivalent of whatever we put on the website that people could, if they, okay, very few people are going to do it. I understand that, but if people had a printout of our handbook, and it's kind of like what Gary said with a car, you don't read the whole thing, that you read the part that you're interested in, maybe the air conditioner or navigation system. There's been discussion in this meeting about, well, what about the shelters at the town and what supplies does the town providing? We don't, right now, we don't know. The Emergency Preparedness Committee could probably answer that, but that's the kind of information that it would be nice to have a single document that one can go to. Don't expect to give people a test on, did you memorize it? Because the answer is no, they didn't.
okay. All right.
So just
So
one final point. So the idea of having maybe two graphics is that not everyone takes in information from reading. Some people are very graphically oriented, and so that would be a way to bring them into
good point.
what they're doing. It's like whenever I give a talk, some people listen to me, some people are reading the slide, you know, some are looking at the picture. I try and have something for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so it gets a
People-
picture.
People, if they don't
Yeah.
read anymore and they don't write anymore, they watch.
So we could get a good picture from Wilma Creative maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be good.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's go on to the next item, evacuation plan subcommittee. I will take this time to report on a meeting attended, which is under new business because it's related. On October 16th, oh, thank you. San Mateo County held a meeting on the Alpine Road Corridor update. What does that mean? It was in Ladera. This was the second of two meetings.
Wait, who held the meeting?
County,
San Mateo.
county,
San Mateo.
San Mateo County only, yes. And they have on their website the plans that were designed in 2017 to relieve congestion in Ladera, traffic congestion, and at the 280 Alpine Road interchange. So what they're proposing is either traffic circles. There will be two in Ladera, one at La Cuesta, one at La Mesa, two at the interchange, one southbound, one northbound, and it's like going through a maze. Or traffic lights. Could have 4 traffic lights, you could have 4 traffic circles, or for some combination. November 30th was the cutoff for a lot of public comment, but they say they're still taking comments. So one thing they did not consider, and that was clear in their presentation, it was clear when I spoke and Dale Fowl from EPC spoke and Ed Holland from the Bicycle Pedestrian Traffic Safety Committee, and our police commissioner spoke, and Kim Giuliacci, our fire marshal, spoke. It's clear that the county had not taken evacuation of Portola Valley into consideration when they were drawing up the plans. Now is the time to speak up. I wish, Judith, I wish our council would take this up, but I think you've got too much on your plate already. So I think we have to speak up. I can get the EPC to speak up, get the fire marshal to speak up. And we should address the county probably directly.
When I held the insurance town hall several weeks ago, Ray Mueller was in town and Dale went up and I heard him saying, look, I'm really concerned about the traffic circles and like just planting that thought there. So I don't know if he has done more outreach directly. It is the county. You have to raise it with the county. We can, as we get our bearings, the holiday time is not a great time, but we should, everybody should write in. The more points of contact expressing concern, the better. So it's not an either or to me. It's people should weigh in directly and if the committee wants to make, an observation, that's fine. Or if you individually want to weigh in, just make it clear you're weighing in as an individual. To do it as a group, you kind of have to have a coordinated message, which is fine. And then it's not that the town council doesn't care about this issue at all. It's just we are trying to get through an interim manager interview and appointment, which should help us be able to have more bandwidth. But right now, for the next month, it's a bit challenging.
And the problem is that they're now going into the design phase for the new intersections.
Right.
They're now starting.
Oh, and the other thing I overheard was that the Woodside Fire Protection District was also expressing concerns. So you might want to check on that if they've made any public statements, because if they're not behind it,
No, she is. She doesn't like the traffic circle.
yeah, exactly.
Her statement is that there are rules, they have rules about how, what the diameter of
Yeah.
the traffic circle can be before they can bring their fire engines
That's
around
right.
it. Possible that
It would be
they wouldn't be
huge.
able to
Yeah.
bring the fire engines in,
Yeah.
larger ones.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so one
Yeah.
possibility is to make a flat traffic circle that you can drive over in an emergency. But,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know enough about it, but if it's now the design phase, you should at least, what you can do is say, we have concerns about this, the traffic circles are, and then fill in the blank, present the following challenges. And the more people that weigh in, the better on this type of thing. So,
okay, so, but cannot the committees weigh in as a committee?
it would be good to coordinate with the EPC, I would suggest.
No,
like-
but I mean, we'd say, we are this committee, and we have two committees. And then-
And what I'm suggesting is that you coordinate the message. You can have complementary messages.
Yeah.
Just don't have one that says we're all for it and the other that's against. I mean, that's not gonna help. So at a minimum, you want to go, are you thinking about things the same way? And it doesn't take the whole committee to talk to the whole committee. You could do an outreach to their chair and just say, are you taking any action to be on record to record your thoughts on this? And if so, it would be good to be able to coordinate messages. You don't have to be on the same paper, but just be thoughtful, because it's going to come over as much more powerful to the county if the same concerns are being expressed in a thoughtful way by committees who are empowered in certain areas. And I would think, but I'm not the liaison for the EPC. I would think they're looking quite closely at it. I know Dale was like talking to Ray and not letting him get away on the topic early. So they're prepared to hear about it. But that, talking to Ray is very different than weighing in at the planning phase meetings that they're going to have. So I think you want to do both. So but I do think coordinating is going to come over as a better approach. And you can also, in an oral comment, I mean, I'm happy to bring this back to the town council. You don't need to, and say this is something that we ought to be monitoring and tracking. But that doesn't mean you sit around and wait for us. I think you can decide if you want to make a statement. And I just don't be at odds with each other if you can avoid it, if that makes sense from where your respective committees are coming out. Which doesn't, I think you're on the same page largely, but I don't know how much detail you want to get into. That makes sense?
So what do you favor, traffic lights or traffic circles?
Well,
I'd like to, I'd like to jump in here.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion on traffic lights versus traffic circles. Right now, I mean, I'm hearing from Nan for the first time about this issue. So clearly I'm at the beginning of the learning curve of understanding, and I'm at the stage where I have to rely on other people like Nan and people from the Emergency Preparedness
Yeah.
Committee to tell me what's going on. I would love to have links or things so that I could educate myself better. I really thank you, for your suggestion. I really like the idea of a committee, preferably both committees, having a single document as a committee given to the county. I think a letter from committees, I'm assuming, has more weight than a bunch of little letters from individuals, because we represent a part of a government, which anyway, I've said enough. But I like those ideas. I would really like to see if, one, we could know how to learn more about this issue, draft something that we can say, do we agree on this? And then send it in. If that's possible.
And I don't think you need to feel like you need to solve the issue. Like, I don't know that you can or should say clearly a stoplight's better, but I'm hearing concerns about the traffic circles. So what are they based on, and what's the goal? The goal is to make sure evacuation can occur while safety vehicles and safety equipment and the like can come in. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but coming to a scientifically valid conclusion about which is better might take a while. And the planning phase is, I don't know how long it is, but you should think about, here's the date and here's what we can do and get consensus around.
Yeah, if I may, I don't think we have the technical knowledge, we haven't studied traffic engineering here.
And that's a special area
Yeah,
that,
it is very subspecialty. But what I did say at the meeting in November was, whatever they do, it should not slow down an evacuation. And it was absolutely clear, as I said, that they didn't even have evacuation in mind
Yeah.
when they made the plans in
so
2017.
there's a function for a communication, which is, we're busy looking at geologic safety. A critical component of that is evacuation. And then you fill in the blank. We have concerns about X, or we need you to do more work
Yeah.
on this component or something. You're not supposed to be concluding for them, but you're asking good questions as, involved citizens.
What we have another concern other than just straight evacuation, because if it's an evacuation after an earthquake, and if Portola Road is closed in two places, even for a few hours, then that puts all the traffic on Alpine Road, and it's absolutely essential that it be able to carry the traffic, which means it has pretty much 100-foot right-of-way for most of it anyway. We need to widen it to 3 lanes, a potential 3 lanes for the entire distance between Portola Road and 280. We need to, I mean, that's something it's not something that's going to happen immediately, but we need to put, I think we need to put that in the minds of the county so that it's their road.
Is it their road? I thought we were responsible for upgrading it.
Are we? I keep
That's the
hearing that the
challenge.
county owns the road. I think I'm going to call Ray Mueller's office and find out.
Because the traffic circles are in the unincorporated county area, that the ones that are being
That's
proposed. So
county,
that's
yeah.
clearly theirs.
And their project went only to the border of Portola Valley.
Right,
And then they weren't touching us.
right,
They weren't touching Alpine Road
Right.
on our side of the
Right.
border. Yeah.
right. So that's why, I mean, in the last town council meeting, it was 5 hours long. You probably weren't there or dropped off. But part of the concerns expressed about the wedge were, we need 3 lanes. The traffic studies didn't support that. And
Does,
you know,
did you say?
did not support
not
that
sup-
because the traffic studies for a CEQA analysis are differently structured and differently intended. And they're based on countywide information. There's a whole host of things that are not intuitive if you just look at it. But it was done to the right standard for that purpose, from what everyone tells me. That's different than, what do we want to do about evacuation for our town? I mean, Stanford wasn't demonstrated to bear a particular burden to widen the road. They are giving us the full right of way of I forget whether it's 80 or 100 feet, but we have that right now as a result of that project. But the next phase would be, can the town get grants or something to try and explore this and make that happen? So I don't think you want to ask the county to do that unless you know it's in their jurisdiction. But what is in their jurisdiction is the traffic circle and the potential negative impact on our ability to get out. I think that's something that obviously they didn't seem to understand or
Yeah.
think was in the scope of their project.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. The county's not going, well, I'm not sure who, yeah, we'd have to get grants to try to widen the road, but we have, first, we would have to have a unified vision that widening the road is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that will take time, but I would like to start planting the seeds.
Mhm.
This is something we need to do.
that's why getting together with the EPC, because I've heard overlapping themes, just even looking at their minutes from the last thing. I mean, whatever you feel you want to do, the easiest thing is just chair-to-chair conversation. What are the 3 top bullet points that you're looking at for evacuation? You could get some traction there and get started. But coordinating with them at a certain level. I mean, your mission's different, so don't get in their lane, but you have touch points, like we have a mission for evacuation. How can we support whatever you're saying, and vice versa? Those kind of conversations I would encourage.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the first thing is to address the, I'm sorry, the first thing is to address the immediate problem, which is the county plan. which
Yes, you've got to
starts
get
at
in that
Ladera.
window, get your
Yeah.
comments in. I don't know what the window is. And again, if you're stuck making individual comments, just saying I'm speaking on a personal level, that would be fine. Just anything to have the record show is an issue. I'm sorry.
What you're saying is, two committees having similar, almost identical suggestions and concerns was actually more powerful than having a combined committee, which just represents in the aggregate what's going on. But it seems to me what we can do, which we are not traffic engineers, we can suggest that there is a serious problem from wildfire hazards as well as earthquake, and that there are the need for egress and ingress of all sorts of crap. And that we hope that the county will take these problems very seriously, whatever their solutions. We can't ourselves decide on, although some of us have vast prejudices about which bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's not our, we can't make that decision for them. They have to be told, listen, there is a serious problem of saving lives.
Mhm.
There is a disaster, and disasters come at the time we don't expect them or want them, often at night. You know, we need to have our roads in such situation that they can provide access.
And there's only two main
And there are only two
thoroughways.
of them.
That's the key part that
You bet.
might not have been on their radar, right?
Well, all you have to do is look at a map and see that. The point is, they need to know that we are vastly concerned about them, but it's their call,
Yeah,
not our call.
yeah. But they
that
they
we
want
should-
to,
We can do that.
Yeah.
I would think, overnight, okay, hey, what do you think? Let's all suggest it.
I wouldn't put, yeah, I'm hoping you don't need to do a lot of original work, that you can kind of get a sense of, oh yeah, we're on the same page. We can have complementary.
Well, the EPC
Approaches.
knows exactly what we know, that there are
Yeah.
these hazards.
Yeah.
And there are probably others that we haven't really thought of,
That's right. Okay.
building ground and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, and I can raise this in the council meeting when we're due to have liaison reports. This Wednesday's meeting is going to be a little unusual, so I just don't know if we're going to have time for it. So that's why I'm saying you should, you know, reach out directly rather than wait for the council. But I think these are all fair points to raise, and the
We should
county
get
needs
them
to,
Before the concrete has been set and how people.
so
are
to speak,
responding.
yeah,
Because our concerns are that they take them into account.
yes, that's exactly.
They're the ball.
But they're gonna have unhappy neighbors if
Yeah.
they don't. So no, I think these are all legitimate points, and I don't know, I didn't go to that meeting, so I can't speak to the specifics of how it was designed and why it was designed the way it was, or their approach.
Your approach,
Sorry, their approach was, well, here's the study we did in 2017 and here are the options.
And you've got a new fire chief, you've got a new, council, you've got a lot that's changed since 2017, but my guess is the fire protection district might have weighed in. You might want to look at the record if it's available and see what they've said, because they're going to be influential on
Yeah.
that topic. So, anyway,
So maybe a joint statement with Kim, Giuliacci and EPC. Yeah, she spoke at EPC last week, so, yeah. Okay,
not working. Okay.
Man, I think a better thing is, if we want to give some gravitas to whatever our opinion is, I'd like to coordinate with the EPC.
oh, yeah.
I think
that's the
that
plan.
if they plan to send a letter, I'm under the impression, we haven't seen the letter yet, but I'm under the impression that this committee would probably be willing to endorse some kind of a statement from them to add any kind of gravitas to an endorsement of whatever. There was a joint letter about, we have these concerns about the evacuation.
yeah. I will talk to them. And let's see, maybe we can get a draft for our next meeting. We can discuss it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. It was very helpful. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, take care. All right, so, yeah, so why don't we, I'll coordinate with EPC and see what they're doing. And then maybe we can informally just draft something and then have it for, an agenda item for the next meeting for us. It'll be January. Okay,
Seems to me if we make them aware that they need to have a
design the traffic circles in theory for emergency vehicles. It's not impossible.
That's,
It
yeah.
just seems if you have like a low curb, an
Yeah.
island and a low curb.
That's
it
right.
just-
Yeah, just a little bit, enough so you're not going to flip over the ladder truck
No,
as
they
it
just
comes through.
slow down.
or a horse trailer. Yeah,
But the traffic circles at Stanford University, they just have to be big.
well, I was looking into them. They come in three sizes, mini, midi, and large. And we have enough space for either a mini or a small midi. So it's, but anyway,
I've been left with the impression that a idea, I hope it's not going through, but a idea to change things at the intersection of Alpine Road and 280, be to close the on-ramp so that we could go south on 280. And that we would have to essentially make a U-turn to use the last remaining on-ramp.
okay. I talked to the traffic engineer about that
Yeah.
directly. Yeah. So that's what the plan shows. It shows that our southbound entrance to 280 is truncated, closed. So I said, what is this? You can't do this. And he said, oh, well, that was from an earlier idea. And we just, that was sort of the end of the edge of the project. So we just left it in the plan. We have to be sure that that's not in fact the case, that they're planning to put a traffic circle in and close off the direct southern entrance to 280. That was scary when you look at the plan.
I'm
and-
having trouble envisioning traffic circles for 280.
Yeah. Well,
I guess you could do it. It just seems. really
What about
confusing.
2 traffic lights there and then 2 more in Ladera?
Well, traffic headed into Menlo Park is not an issue. It's the traffic, rush hour traffic, trying to get on 280 north generally, or south either way, in the afternoons.
Mainly
That
280
backs up
north.
all the
Yeah,
way to the golf course.
yeah, it does.
That's the only one that's.
Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, I would.
Maybe they could just solve,
Yeah.
but if both lanes at the stop sign could both somehow get on to the, guess it's the south.
Yeah, it's complicated, So, anyway, okay. So let's table this till the next meeting and I'll work on it a bit. Seismic resilience subcommittee. Troy, Steve had sent emails out to potential speakers for your subcommittee. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want me to talk about that? Because I've got some answers now. Kent, I'm sorry. Speak into the micro. Do you have a
Does
microphone?
not have copies.
Oh, a microphone.
I don't have copies here, but Nan has sent emails out. The responses of the 2 people, one at PG&E and one at Bear Valley or Bear Creek Water, agreeing to meet with us.
Well, the person who agree, okay, so, yeah, so for Cal Water, he sent it to Bear Creek and Don Smithson, who's the manager in Los Altos, agreed to speak to us. Is
Hmm.
that what we want? I guess we should take her and then if we need someone else, we'll get someone else, but it's not Bear Creek specifically. It may be someone higher than Bear Creek. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
well, I thought we had an acceptance, but this is just my memory.
The person who accepted, the only one, even if it was sent to Bear Creek, the person who accepted, it's manager in Los Altos district. Maybe we're in the Los Altos district. I don't know. So we'll find out.
That could be.
I'll double check with her, but she said she could speak. And the other person is
And what would she be speaking on again?
her name,
No, what would her topic be?
her
Topic. What's she gonna speak about?
We're talking about, we don't have a topic yet.
Oh, okay, what's her specialty?
She's the manager, I think, manager of the Los Altos division or something, Cal Water, Los Altos division. I'd have to look in the emails. So there's that. There's also Jeff Bachhuber, I think you pronounce his name. And he is the head of geosciences at PG&E, and he said he would talk to us, and we set him up for a January meeting.
Head of, again?
Jeff
No, what's the he head of?
Bach, Bachhuber, HUB, two H's.
What's he,
Director of Geosciences or Head of Geosciences at PG&E. Sorry. Too much, too fast. And the third person is someone I had contacted, is a professor at San Jose State, Tim Blizniuk, who does who does trenching and dating of paleo earthquakes. And she did that in Sanborn Park. And I've mentioned that, and she came up with a slip rate on the San Andreas down there that's much higher than was thought before. So that's Kim, Kim Wisniuk. Have her, okay. And she said she would talk, but we haven't set a time. So should I ask people, should I ask two speakers for one meeting? Or should we have one speaker per meeting so we can transact other business? And allow them, Gary, Pat, you have a better idea than I. How much time should we allow? But
I would think half an hour would be plenty for each person, but I think you run 2 or 3 together, that would be overkill. I think everybody should be on a separate visit. I think they would appreciate that rather than being crowded. We
Okay.
don't want anybody to talk for 45 minutes, but we want to know what they
Yeah,
know.
that's
as-
true.
Shall I say succinctly as possible?
So I could ask them to aim for about half an hour and then with discussion after.
Think so.
I would like to know what the topic is. I mean, I
That
kind
would
of feel
also-
like the cart before the horse. It's great to get some ideas of who to come and talk. That's nice. It was sort of like we're asking people to come and entertain us. I know that that's not the best way of saying it, but that is part of it. We're not here to be entertained. We're here to do some work, but what are we doing?
The topic is resilience, basically, resilience of the utilities in an earthquake. Fragility, if you want to look at it that way, or resilience of our utility systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
No,
Yeah.
I
We
mean-
should know more, once we talk in any sort of detail with individual speakers. I don't think we've asked them in detail yet what they would talk about, but almost any topic they would want, I would think, would be related to our geologic hazard, geologic safety.
yeah, we don't want them to give canned slides. We
No.
would like it tailored more to our particular situation.
Put it another way, what is our goal? I mean, I think we can come up with a goal, but it would just be helpful to me to know. What is our goal we're asking people to take their time out of their busy schedule to come and give us information. What's the information that we want? And what are we going to do with the information that they give us?
I would assume it would have to do with how they're updating their resilience, right? For PG&E and Cal Water, what are they doing to be more resilient for earthquake risk? For Kim, I mean, that's going to be just her research suggesting faster
Well,
slip
I'll
rate on the
rephrase
Santa
it
Grace?
differently. I
Yeah.
mean, so somebody, look, somebody comes, they give us this information and they invest their time to help us. And then what are we gonna do with that information? And how are we gonna do something with it to make that, their investment of their time to us worthwhile?
We can't answer that question until we know what they were suggesting talking about, unless we want to tell them, here's what we
Okay.
want you to talk about. And we can go that way, but I think the main thing is, and because I'm not doing it, we're doing is to take to these several people. These are our problems. People in Portola Valley safe, in the case of wildfire or earthquake or any other geologic hazards that may come along, and those, they're possible. Well, how can you help us understand the nature of the problem and so forth? But we can ask them that and see what they would say for their topic.
So, thank you. I've raised these questions. I wasn't trying to be
Oh,
in
no, I
opposition.
know.
I'm just trying to
No,
help the process.
This goes, I'm sorry, this feeds into the safety element of the general plan, which Pat and I, as a subcommittee, commented on 2.5 years ago, and it's going to come up probably this next year. We need to be prepared with specific information on our utility systems, how resilient they are or not. It goes into the general plan.
I support, I mean,
I mean,
I'm not
generally.
trying, yes, I'm raising questions, but I'm not trying to be in opposition. I'm trying to help understand it. I support the idea. I think it's part of what we should do. I'm just recognize that there are certain steps that would be really hopeful to know. What are we going to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, well, we're at that stage where we can be specific about what we want them to address. And we haven't, in Steve's email, I don't have it right here. Do you have, no, you don't. It's really strange. This thing updated itself and I can't get to the browser. There it is. Then I have to get to email, but, he was fairly specific. So, I'll go back to that. I'll start with that and I think we want to know, Gary, as you said, what their understanding of our situation is, basically our hazards, what the risks are for the utility systems for the hazard. It's a hazard and risk issue.
A lot of information that they choose not to make very public.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot of information about this that they choose not to make very public.
No.
And
But-
I kind of understand that, but it doesn't allow us to make recommendations to prepare for a bad situation. For example, I'd like to ask a couple of very simple questions. What plan do they have, and at what level of planning and so forth are they to underground the primary wire?
Well, that's PG&E.
Yeah, coming up. Now, the water story is less something I know about, except that I do know that the fire department thinks that they have water supplies for their purposes in hand. And that's because they have a pair of, call them fire trucks, but they're known as water tenders. And while fire truck is using up the hundreds of gallons of water that it has in the truck, the tender can be refilling from the water source and bringing more water. And in fact, if you noticed in the public TV coverage, that giant apartment house in Redwood City that recently burned down, they had well, my son was in charge of one facet of that fire. And he had 3 bladder trucks at his disposal. But they only had enough water for you.
What, in the lines, there was not a, where was
It's
there
just
not
the
enough
water
water?
supply in that area. It's not very exciting.
Why was there not enough water?
I'm sorry.
There's only one water tender for 3.
Well, oh,
No,
the
no, the
tender.
water tender,
But what about hydrants? I mean, was there not water in the,
there was not water pressure in the hydrant.
there was not water pressure because everyone was drawing it for the fire? Or because,
They were, of course, it's a big fire. It's the biggest fire in the history of the county. But if they got all of the equipment that they had available, pouring water on fire,
yeah,
the water coming out of the hydrants that they had access to was totally inadequate.
yeah, and that happens. I mean, that,
Like,
that happened in Maui a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Over a year ago.
Mhm.
We were there on vacation in September and on Maui, and we talked to a number of the people who had been through the fire. And there was in particular one young man who had been living in California, went back to live with his family. That was at his mother's house. He and his mother and his brother were living there. When they figured out that that the fire was coming, it took hours really for the word to get, for the fire to spread and the word to get out. They went out and they were going to hose off the roof and then leave. Turned on the water, there was no water in the line,
Mhm.
none.
Chet had a request to say something? Dad,
I didn't hear that.
Ask them, Chad.
Chet wants to say something?
Yeah?
Oh,
Oh, we need the, yeah, microphone, please.
The problems of water supply are more than just, is there an adequate supply? If we are trying to get water into trucks and move them to the appropriate places, the roads have to be good enough to do that. And the problems that we are talking about here can be so significant that nothing can be done. And that's what we need to get across to the town. There are just all kinds of problems. They are not simple. Like trying to tell the town something about geologic faults that we are aware of, and if they don't want to hear about it, we're lost.
Okay.
Do you know if Steve ever talked to Russ Kramer about giving a presentation? Did Steve Ingebrigtsen ever talk to Russ Kramer about giving a presentation?
Well, see, then, okay, then there's Russ Kramer. He wrote back a very long email. We asked about 2 things. One was meeting with just, a couple of people about the Black Mountain and Barracal Fault, just to talk about them in general, see what the USDS, if there's any update from USDS or anything. Said he'd be happy to do that. The other, addressing us about faults, he wrote what would be about a 2-page disclaimer, really not wanting to come. He doesn't want to get involved in any controversial situation like this.
So which topic's controversial?
Anything about faults in Portola Valley, I guess.
Oh, but wait,
Whoa.
But he'll be willing to sit down with us and look at what we've got, the Black Mountain Dale thing.
so he's willing to talk about Black Mountain Barracal, but
Well,
not as a public,
yeah, just
public,
if we go to his
presentation.
office and take what we got and just talk to him, yeah.
that's all right. Yeah,
That
that
would
makes
be-
sense.
But the, as far as talking to it, he said, I mean, I haven't gotten back to him because, I was going, I don't think he wants to come.
No, that makes sense.
I don't- I
Yeah,
don't
as a
wanna put him in-
USGS employee, you have there's certain restrictions on it.
Exactly, I don't want to put him in a difficult position. or
Well, he
ask him
just
to do
won't, yeah, he can't.
So
So,
maybe we should not have him, or just wait and,
sounds like it's better to go to his office and have an informal conversation.
I'm sorry,
Go to his office and have an informal conversation.
and see what he says.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we should do. So, we should do that.
In other words, off the record.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not in
Yeah.
privy to.
Yeah.
Well,
Anonymous
I
source.
understand that, yeah, well, the USDF has more problems than all the rest of us put together in terms of their mission and how it's to be funded.
Sure, on the chopping block.
So this, we haven't even gotten to the place where the stumbles are going to start rolling. Like, speaking of tumbles rolling, I've got a luncheon appointment, so I have to leave pretty soon.
Yeah, and that clock is the
We
only.
missed it.
That clock is totally wrong.
Oh, no, okay.
25 after 2, you wouldn't think it's that late.
It's about 10 minutes to 12.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, we've done almost everything. Your 5 minutes
That was.
on our work plan, the last page of the agenda, and that was the work plan that we set out for this fiscal year, and we're right in the middle of it, so it's a good time to review this meeting and next. The check marks are the things we've done. And, you can see that we can set out a very ambitious plan for ourselves, but, there are other things we can get done. So here we're under earthquake preparedness and education program, which is one of our major missions. It says write a series of articles for the town webpage. That could be in the form of the handbook, you know? Local geology, earthquake hazard and risk, earthquake preparedness, sheltering in place, assistance from emergency organizations, evacuation after earthquake triggered wildfire. That could be the handbook, you know,
Yeah,
it says series of articles, but it doesn't have to be the format.
can this be a topic for like the next meeting? I mean, Gary's about to leave. and, I'd like to do more. But
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know
this
how much
is-
we can accomplish.
Yeah,
in
no,
a few
I
minutes.
bring this up now because we've never done it this early. Never done the review this early. It should be a mid-year review because early next year, like February, the town council is going to say, what's your plan for the next year? And what's your budget?
Right.
Only they're going to say, yeah, what's your budget, but we don't have any money for you. So they will. But we will have to tell them what our plan is. So I bring this up now so people can start thinking about it. And let's continue this. Maybe if we can finish this in the January meeting, in addition to our speaker, that would be really good. So everyone has homework. To look at this page, think about it. Think about whether we're on track for the rest of this year, and then start thinking about what we want to do for the next fiscal year, which starts July 1st, 2025. Okay? Homework, everybody. Seriously.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else? No? Then
Make the motion
I'm-
to adjourn.
we are going to adjourn the meeting. I adjourn the meeting. Okay.
Second.
What time is it? I don't have a watch, working watch.
11:52.